So speaking to Tanya Jones now, who is pursuing a new approach to cryopreservation. Tanya, what is your motivation to work on longevity?
Ah, I've always been interested in longevity. It's been a passion of mine for a very long time. And this company that I'm working on right now is unexpected and unusual because I believe we have a solution to one of the critical problems in the longevity medicine space. It's in the field of cryobiology, which is very much underrepresented in biology research, and yet still could have a dramatic impact on health and longevity were we able to cryopreserve organs for transplant.
Right. So what actually is helium persufflation, your approach, and why is it important?
So traditionally, organs have been cryopreserved on the small scale. So mostly people work in rats and mice, uh, or hamsters and rabbits. And the reason why is ice formation is a problem that was solved back in 1997 by Greg Fahey, but and the cooling that occurred worked fine on the small scale. But when we started looking at larger organs, like human organs, they were just too big. And the cooling rates were all surface cooling. So thermal stresses were introduced between the outside of the organ and the inside, which tended to be a lot warmer. And those thermal stresses caused stress fractures to occur. These are stress fractures that damage the structure of the organ in a catastrophic way. Helium persufflation is our innovation and our solution to that problem of fracturing. And in it, you do the vitrification to prevent the ice formation the way it's traditionally done by many labs. But then, once that is complete, if you flush the vasculature with a noble gas, that is still a gas down at the near liquid nitrogen temperatures where storage, safe long term storage occurs, then you can cool the entire organ very quickly and very uniformly. And by clearing out the cryoprotectant out of the vasculature, if the tissue starts to have little stress deformations, the tissue has a place to go because the vasculature is filled with gas. So rather than that deformation causing a fracture, it just causes a bit of a bend and no fractures occur. So there is not, it eliminates a catastrophic failure mode for recovering these organs from low temperatures.
Right. So how did this idea of helium persufflation actually come about?
Well, in order to try and solve this fracturing problem, which was a very pesky problem, my co-founder at Aragos and I, we went back to first principles because we realized that nobody had come up with a solution ever. So we went back and basically systematically challenged everything that we knew about each and every step. And the first indication of persuflation that we saw in the literature was back in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, where there was a lot of persuflation work being done using oxygen to support metabolism. And our insight was that what if it wasn't oxygen? What if it was another gas? Is it possible to introduce these gases and use them for cooling? And it turned out to be a relatively straightforward experiment to try. And we did. And it was really kind of surprising at the time because we looked at it and it was like, this seems like such a simple solution. Is it true that nobody ever thought to do this? And we spent about a year trying to find evidence that somebody had tried it before and they hadn't. So we're like, okay, it's time to start the company and get to it.
Right. So what about cryonics and how does it apply to your work?
Well, cryonics would be an extension of the work that we're doing in the organ banking field. It is much more complex because everything that we've been doing is isolated organs. We have not looked at complex tissue structures. For example, if you want to cryopreserve an entire body, I don't even know how that would work in a reversible way. So it's possible that many, many years from now, this will be applicable to a reversible cryopreservation for a whole body. But right now, isolated organs is as far as we've gotten.
What are the next steps actually that you are planning to take to advance helium persufflation?
The next steps involve, well, this is a new company, so finding the facility is the first step. And then during the time between when Aragos closed and the start of Keinice, there were several problems that we had not managed to solve. And so I've spent a lot of time over the past year or two trying to find some of those solutions and redesigning the systems that we built previously to make them more efficient and to make them more effective. And I've solved a lot of those problems. So the next step would involve building those new systems, basically rebuilding our old systems, and then testing and doing the experiments. So rather than working on the kidneys that were the primary organ of focus at Aragos, we're going to be looking at hearts because of its clinical critical nature. Hearts would be a far more dramatic and useful advance for organ transplantation at this time than kidneys would. And it's such a critical organ, its FDA pathway would be significantly easier because of certain exemptions and support that you can get with this kind of breakthrough technology. So the next steps, build it, prove it, and then start talking to the FDA.
Great, Tanya, thank you for your time.
Thank you.